Hey guys, it's Sherry Vegas and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I've got some really beautiful flowers here and I didn't want them to go to waste and wilt, so I've decided to dry them and preserve them in resin, and I'm going to do them in some really cool coasters. So if you want to see how I do this, make sure you stay tuned. So for this tutorial, you're going to need some coaster molds. I just got these off online. They're just like the cheapy ones that don't last that long. So I'm going to be using those today. Just thought they were a really cool shape. I've got 3 of those and I'm going to be making 6 coasters in total. So I will just have to do this over the process of like 2 days. I'm pretty sure that was meant to come with 4, but it only arrived with 3. So I've got those coaster molds and they're silicone and they're nice and like high shiny. Then I'm going to be adding a little bit of some white alcohol ink in and a bit of the Artisue sparkle powder. Artisue's no longer in business, so you can't get any of her products anymore, which is a shame. And then obviously my flowers, and I'm going to be pressing those in a microfleur press. So if you've never used one of those before, I do have a full tutorial on how to use that, which I'll add like down below or at the end of this. I definitely recommend going and watching that. I will show you like briefly how I do it, but if you want a full tutorial, go and watch that. And then I'm going to be using the Make Art resin. So this is a Gold Coast based brand and I've been testing out their resin for them and working with it, and I absolutely love their casting resin. So they've got 2 types of casting resin. One's deep pour for like river top tables, so that tutorial will be coming very soon. And then the second one is the shallow casting resin, so perfect for coasters. I think it's up to 20 millimeters in thickness for the shallow casting resin, which is great. I have been using this resin for quite a while, testing it out, and I've got to say it is amazing. They've also given me a discount code, so I'll pop that below or like across the screen. So if you're in Australia and you want to go and purchase it, I made coasters I think like 2 months ago and they are still crystal clear, and I put them on my like windowsill to see if like the resin would yellow, and it has not yellowed at all. These coasters still look so good. So that means that they're going to be really good for working with flowers, because sometimes if you use a resin that doesn't have a good UV resistance and you put flowers in it, over time the flowers start to change color and go just yellow and don't look the best. So whatever resin you decide to use when you are working with flowers, you need to make sure it's got a really high UV resistance, because you're going to have parts of your resin that are going to be clear and you're not pigmenting them, so you need to make sure that your resin stays nice and clear. I recommend for this project a casting resin. So the resin I'm using today from Make Art is a 2:1 ratio. So it's a casting epoxy resin, and it just means it's going to work really well for coasters and not release too much air, unlike if I was just to use a straight epoxy resin. First thing you want to do is just cut off your flowers as close to the base as possible, because you do not need the stem, and the stem takes longer to dry. Some of the flowers work better if you place them down. Some I like to place up, just depending on the petal arrangement. You can see here I'm kind of taking a petal from another flower and placing it in. This is a little trick, because that way when you press it, it actually presses into that flower and you can't even tell it wasn't a part of that flower. Then I'm just adding all of my clips on, and then I'll put it in the microwave for around 30 seconds to a minute, depends on the flowers, and just check on it. Then after I've taken it out of the microwave, I just place it on some paper. I like to use watercolor paper because it takes up a lot of the moisture, and I just kind of leave it overnight to kind of just make sure that it's 100% dry before I do put it in to my resin. So I've got all my flowers out of my microfleur press, and I really love how they've turned out. The microfleur press is great because you can literally press your flowers and then be putting them in resin like that day or the next day. Just make sure they are fully dry in the center, because generally when you press flowers, the petals are going to dry the fastest and the center is just going to take a little bit longer. So don't put these in as soon as you've pressed them. Leave them for a little bit just to make sure that the center is dry as well, because if you put them in too soon and the center's not fully dry, you're going to have issues where they kind of go a bit funny when you do put them in the resin, because there's still a bit of moisture in the middle. So if you do microflow press these, leave them till like the next day or the day after. Stick them in a nice sunny spot and just make sure that they are fully dry before you start putting them into your resin. Okay guys, so I've got my molds here and I've pulled them out of the packet so they're already pretty clean. I've got my casting resin here and that's been sitting for about 10 minutes and it's only just got a few bubbles on the surface from when I mixed it. So I'm going to just give that a little blast with the heat gun in the jar because I don't want to heat up my molds too much because it damages the silicone if you overheat the resin in the mold, and it means it makes it harder for the item to come out. So if you find you're ripping your molds, it's probably because you're heating them up too much. And I'm going to be using a heat gun only. You don't want to use a blowtorch on silicone molds for that reason. And then I've got all of my flowers here. With my Make Art resin, I'm just going to be filling my coasters up to the halfway mark on each one, as I'm going to be encasing my flowers in the middle. I'm just mixing a little bit of resin with my Artist Sue sparkle powder, and then I'm going to be adding that in with my Blanco White Pinata, which is a white alcohol ink, to create swirls in half of the coaster. And then I'm just going to be placing my flower on top. Okay, so it's been around 4 to 5 hours since I did the first pour, and these are nice and jelly. They're not liquid anymore, but they're also not fully set, so I can do my second pour now. The reason why you want to do this in 2 pours is because it encases your flower in the middle. If you put the flower on top, you're going to have it open to the elements, and obviously because you're putting like coffee cups or whatever you want onto your coasters, the flowers are going to get damaged. So by doing it in the middle, it encases it into the center of the resin, and that way the resin protects it. I decided I want a bit of sparkle, so instead of mixing it into the resin, I'm just going to flick it across just so I can control where it goes. I just want to put it around my flower, and then when I pour the resin on top, it's going to lock that sparkle in. So it's the next day and it's time to do my second pour. This is pretty much the exact same as what I did the first time around. The only change that I've made is I'm going to be using white resin instead of the white alcohol ink. I just want to see if it creates a different effect, and I think this is just white from Barnes. And then I've placed my flowers on top and followed all the other same steps. How great have these turned out? I am absolutely loving them. I think they look amazing. I can show you without the reflection. So now, like the last few steps are kind of like those little areas where I've over poured. You just want to get some fine grain sandpaper. So I think this is 800. Rip a little bit off and then just kind of sand back any of those edges or any sharpness. If you're going to be sanding back a lot, you need to wear a face mask because resin dust can be toxic if you breathe it in. Or you can use like the wet your sandpaper, and that way you're not going to get dust into the air. But if you're sanding back quite a bit, please do put a face mask on. I've only got like a little few drips and kind of taking that sort of sharpness off the edge. Okay, so I thought I would just show you how to do the silver edging, or you can do it in gold or copper, whatever you want, if you decide you want to do it on your coasters. So I am just using some Pinata Silver Alcohol ink, and then I've also got some Barnes Aluminium Bright, I think this powder's called, if you can see it. And I'm mixing those together, and I'm just kind of doing this is going to focus, the edge, and using a paintbrush. So I find it easiest if I rough up the edge. If you leave it really slick and shiny, it's going to take more coats for that to grip on. So not a lot, and this is really that same sort of 800 wet and dry sandpaper. Just kind of giving it somewhere to grip on. If it's so slick and shiny, it just takes that little bit longer. But you don't want to use anything too rough because then you're going to leave like sanding marks. And then I'm just painting along the edge. So I find it normally takes me two coats to do this. I do find like roughing up the edge does help quite a lot. If I don't rough up the edge, it's at least 3. I also sometimes do use a varnish and a sealer. It just kind of depends on your personal preference. I have been really liking the alcohol ink technique, and then I will put a varnish over the top. Just so if I have to wash the coasters, it's not going to wash off. But this does stay pretty put. Like, I don't have any issues with it. And that looks nice and bright. Now, I've gone in, if you can see, if I can get it, and painted like along the edge just to kind of give it more effect. So how great did these turn out? I'm so happy with them. I can't wait to start using them. Just note that with coasters, it's generally good to leave it for 48 hours to like the 60 plus mark before you put like hot stuff on them, just because even though it's like fully set and cured, it can still need that little bit extra long time before you put heat on them. And resin is pretty great for coasters because resin can withstand really hot temperatures. I do have a question for you guys. I don't know if I want to leave them without the silver gilding or whether the silver gilding, like the silver border, should I keep going? I need your opinions in the comment below because I like them both ways. Like normally if I'm doing a coaster, it's generally like a geode style coaster and I always do a silver edge. But these I think also do look really great without one. I'm really happy with them. So yeah, leave a comment in below whether I should keep going and do the rest of them or whether I should just leave it natural and take the edging off this one. But either way, they look pretty fabulous. I just want to give a big shout out to Miley on Disney, Amy Foster, and I hope I'm saying this properly and I'm really sorry if I'm not, Mara Fuser. I'm not 100% sure. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. I cannot pronounce names that I do not know. I noticed you guys comment on nearly every single video and you always like and give everything a big thumbs up. I just wanted to let you know that I do see you guys commenting and supporting me, and I just wanted to thank you. And I want to thank all of you because I recently just hit 50k in subscribers on my channel, and honestly that has been a big goal of mine for so long. So thank you guys so much for everyone that watches my videos every week, that likes, comments, subscribes. Thank you all so much. I also want to give a big thank you to Make Art Resin, which is a Gold Coast based brand, and they've recently started doing resin. I have been working with them for a little while now, and in this video we use their shallow casting resin, and I've got to say it is my favorite shallow casting resin on the market. I love it because I did coasters like 2 months ago that were just clear and I left them on my windowsill to get full sun and they've not changed at all. They've stayed crystal clear, which is perfect if you are going to be putting items like flowers or leaving parts of it crystal clear. You don't want it to yellow over time. And it also has air releasing agents in it. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So it gets less bubbles than your normal like art resins do, and that's why it's great to also be doing clear cast. And honestly, I did not really use the heat gun at all. All bubbles just came out, and I've got some crystal clear coasters. They look absolutely amazing. So I just want to give a big shout out to them. I'm going to leave all of their details in the description below, and they also have given me a discount code, so I'll pop that in there as well. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. It just lets YouTube know that this is a good video and to share it with more resin enthusiasts. And if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe, because my next goal is 100,000 subscribers, which I would love to get there within 6 months' time. So hopefully we can do that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to follow me on all of my social medias. I'm always happy to answer any questions to do with resin. And yeah, what do you think? Should I keep going, keep doing the silver, or should I leave them the way they are? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching.